Hey, what is up, guys? Evan Aldo here. I am outside of my balcony in downtown Miami right now. I got the kind of lavalier, wireless lavalier microphone. Is some background noise. Hope you can hear me okay. And I had a few thoughts, and I've never talked about this too much, but I'm going to right now. I'm going to right now. So obviously, if you've been on, unless you're, I mean, some older people don't even know who this is, or which is was surprising to me a little bit. But if you've been on social media, you've been on the internet, you definitely have heard of and have seen clips of Andrew Tate talking, like the big person that was on everyone's mind. Not there's still clips of him going around, probably a big censored person, very controversial, um, very influential, like very. You could say what you want about the guy, but he was sharp, man. Like playing chess. Chess, by the way, that is. It could be addictive. People could use it kind of as like video games, but I think that, like somebody was telling me, I was talking to a kid that was he got a really high score, like has a really high IQ level. He got a high score on his SAT or ACT. But a lot of people don't care about that, but he's like this 19-year-old or 18-year-old, and really smart kid. And I asked him like, man, that's really impressive. And he's like, oh, it was. I think he thinks it was from playing a lot of chess. It made him sharper, made him smarter, and that game will make your mind. All those and people say no SAT that's different than IQ or LSAT. All those are all an IQ test, and ultimately, I mean, you don't need to have even somebody like Dan Pena says having a above average IQ will just make you be stuck in analysis paralysis and mess you up and make a lot of mistakes. But yeah. So back to kind of Andrew Tate. A lot of people talked about him. A lot of people talked about him to get views just because he was so popular. And now, obviously, no charges. I don't think any. I don't follow it too much, but I don't think any actual charges have been pressed against him. But now he's in a Romanian prison under. He's in prison being held because of investigation. And I'm not an expert on his background. I could kind of. I don't know exactly. They were doing stuff with like that online pay for, adults, OF, that type of stuff. They were hiring people to do. I don't know the details. I don't really care about that. But a few of the things, the things, I never really listened to any of the stuff that was censored. I've only seen the stuff that, was clearly like on YouTube, on the shorts, the stuff that everybody sees. And this is going to sound wild to you guys, but one of the first things I was thinking about when I was listening to stuff he says about money is it sounds similar to stuff like Bernie Sanders kind of says a little bit. Hear me out. I know it, not all of it, but some of it kind of does here. And one thing in particular, I remember he would say like, you're walking down the street, you see a guy in a $300,000 Lamborghini. This guy's got a $300,000 car, and you have, you know what I mean? Even if you say you make 100 grand a year, you keep 70 of it, maybe even less, you keep less of it. How long would it take you to save up the type of money to buy that type of car? It would take years and years, you know what I mean? Or even somebody with a $3 million car or a $20 million mansion, you know what I mean? It would take you years to, save that up. How is that fair? Why is, it's kind of things about, I guess that people say breaking out of the matrix and quotation marks. I think I've even used that analogy in a previous like vlog I made, but you know, people say that type of stuff, but I mean, I think that's a certain thing. That's a certain thing kind of people don't like if you say that type of stuff. I mean, think about society. Think about how the average person would react and treat you, and so would say to you, if you say, I want to quit my, 9 to 5 job and start a business and do this. You know what I mean? Tell your parents that, when I don't want to go to college. I just want to, try to start a business and not never work a 9 to 5 job or whatever it is. I want to drop out of college and do that. Most people are going to, say you're delusional or stuff like that. Unless your parents did it themselves and are entrepreneurs and are very high up there. That's rare. But the average person, the way we are, sorry, the way we are kind of raised in a lot of ways. The way we are raised in a lot of ways, we kind of gravitate to that being impossible, that being kind of out of the question. And then the other thing that I've heard him say that I kind of like is that he said that look around you and you see all the wealth. There's money around you. Let me explain here. So look at these buildings. I think these buildings are obviously, this is like prime location, downtown Miami. I don't own this apartment. I rent like a 2-bedroom apartment here. This would be, if you were to buy a condo like this around this area, I think you'd pay probably at least 800K for this, probably somewhere between 800K to maybe even a million, somewhere around that area. Like, that's a lot of money, obviously. There's wealth all around you. I walk down the street here, I see Lamborghinis every day where I live. You know what I mean? And even, people would say, oh, there's rented, yada, yada. Well, somebody owns it. You know what I mean? Somebody has that type of money. Somebody owns it, even if the one you're seeing is just rented by that guy. So somebody does own that. And I think that, that's what you got to realize. There's wealth all around you. There's kind of unlimited resources. Everybody's kind of grown up to believe, it's a zero-sum game. Zero-sum game, except, you work for your boss and make him rich. You know what I mean? It's a zero-sum game except for that. Your boss, oh no, he was just, it's okay. For him, he's got undeniable talent that you don't have. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that notion. And in a lot of ways, I think, saying this type of stuff, saying those type of things, people aren't going to like it too much. A lot of people aren't going to kind of like it too much because it kind of disorders the way kind of society is to a certain extent. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't, that's what I'm kind of thinking with a lot of this stuff with Andrew Tate. I don't really have much of an opinion on him. I don't really care. I think, I think it's interesting how he was able to kind of market himself and create such a big following, and that comes with a lot of negatives. I think he's, if you look back at that when you're in prison in Eastern Europe, that's the kind of, to go from all that ultimate freedom, all that money, and now he'll probably get out in a few months or whatever. We'll see what happens, but to go through all that freedom, I think he probably would have given away every penny he had and started over to probably avoid that, in my opinion. I think I would. I think I probably would, because all your freedom just taken from you. And obviously money is just freedom. Essentially the more freedom you have. And people talk about, does money buy happiness, which is kind of a weird, does money buy happiness? No one size fits all. For some people, it definitely will. For others, if you're very impulsive, if you can't control yourself, it may just it could make your life worse depending on your circumstances, depending on who you are. There's a lot of different possibilities here. There's a lot of different things that can happen with it. If you're somebody who, it makes you more, a lot of people say money, I think Tim Ferriss has said this a lot, money makes you more of what you already are. Money, alcohol, drugs, those things, they make you more of what you already are. And I think that's true, at least to a certain extent. If you already got things going for you, if you're already a good person, everything kind of already going well, you got your stuff together, it could definitely help you and potentially make you happier, potentially. But in terms of happiness too, like, hear this is what Naval Ravikant said, it's really good, money, or what was it? Oh, wait, why is it? I know it. Yeah. If you're so smart, wouldn't you be able to know how to make yourself happy? You know what I mean? If you're smart, you can make yourself happy. How could you be smart and depressed? If you're smart enough, you know how to make yourself happy. You know how to make your life good. And I think that's pretty true. I think that's definitely pretty true in terms of how life is in a lot of ways, to think about it that way, ultimately. And I think that's, these things are important to kind of think about. I think the most important thing I want you guys to take away from this video is, like, there's wealth all around you. Look at these buildings. These really, the millions of dollars are right. I have almost $1 million in this apartment right in front of me. And you would say, okay, not everybody lives in a nice apartment like this. Not everybody lives with you where you live, but everybody's close to an area where there's probably some big buildings, where there's probably, some wealth. Even if you're in an average neighborhood or even a poor neighborhood, just all of the buildings around you, they're worth something. You know what I mean? There's wealth all around you. There's resources. We all can theoretically be rich. And there's ways to, kind of use leverage and kind of market yourself. And I mean, you could teach, a lot of things. People don't think, low self-esteem is a big problem. A lot of people, they just don't think they're good enough. You know what I mean? They just don't think they're good enough because maybe they were told that, maybe they were raised that way. They don't think they're good enough. But it's really like, you don't want to be, some people will just let the negative thoughts get to them, let the negative, things get to them, the negative notions. You gotta have to ignore that. And if something, doesn't go your way, that doesn't matter. Keep trying, It could take, it's not going to take. It could take some different tries, and you may have to try a lot of different things. I know a lot of people who are very successful that they tried tons of different things. They quit on a lot of them, or either failed at them and just lost interest, and they tried something else. They kept trying, until something works. And you may look like you don't know what you're doing. You may look like you're dumb. You may look like, it may be embarrassing, but that's it. And I mean, a lot of people say this quote, with life, everyone's, nobody gets out alive. It's all going to be over at some point. And I think ultimately you don't have that much time. Even if you're, I'm 26 years old, even if you're 25 years old, it's too easy math. You're 1/4 of the way to 100. I mean, maybe you'll live to 100, maybe not. Life expectancy is decreasing in America. I think there's statistics to back that up. I don't know. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I think China is above America. I think even Thailand was above America. Now they're passing America. So life expectancy in America is generally declining. So maybe you'll make it to 100. The technology, the AI, who knows? But you're still like 1/4 of your life is potentially over. And look at, even if you're 25. I mean, I'm 26 now. I just turned 26, but about a month ago. But it seems like it goes by pretty fast. Let's be real. It goes by pretty fast, and you don't want to be you don't want to do a 9-to-5 job. If you don't want to, you want to be able to have some freedom. Ultimately, I mean, again, it's a no size fits all. Some people it would be better. Some people would always tell me. I remember I went to the University of Miami for college. A lot of people always told me that that if they went there, they would have been never able to go to class. They wouldn't have had the discipline or whatever. They always would have been partying. That wasn't me. I had the discipline. I think I would have went to class more there than I would have went to class somewhere else. That because I liked the warm weather and the environment. I wanted to get up. You know what I mean? Maybe as opposed to being in a colder place up north or whatever. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, I mean, it's different. It's different. Everybody has kind of different needs. There's certain people who maybe like to be in a 9-to-5 job, maybe like that. And I think that people, ultimately, the things you attract, the things you think about, you will get. And I mean, if you're always like afraid of something bad always happening, something, always afraid of these things, usually you get the things you think about, whether they're good or bad. And it's easier said than done to have all positive thoughts. That can be hard to have all positive thoughts. But ultimately, I think the most important thing is to be excited for a future that isn't there yet, to be excited for a future that hasn't been made manifest yet. And Dr. Joe Dispenza says this, can you be grateful for a future? I think this is the quote. Can you be grateful for a future that hasn't been made manifest yet? And I think everybody tries to be, but sometimes it could be hard to be because there's a lot of doubt and a lot of people don't think they're going to get what they want. Maybe they had some drawbacks in the past. Maybe they think they're going to be disappointed about it. But you just got to try. I think ultimately the most important thing, like even if I was to try a bunch of things and fail, to try a bunch of things and fail at them, and maybe go through my whole life just trying a bunch of things and never really worked out. At least at the end I could say, well, I gave it a shot. I tried. I'm proud that I tried. You know what I mean? At least I know I wasn't dealt the cards and I couldn't do it, but I tried. You know what I mean? I think you would eventually succeed, but I don't know. That's just the thing. And I remember Terry Crews had a quote that he said, like, I think it was when he was in high school or college or something. He was playing basketball and like he took a shot at the end to try to win the game. He didn't pass the ball. He took a shot and he missed the shot. And it was kind of embarrassing how, and everybody said he should have passed the ball to let somebody else shoot or something like that. And even they wrote in the newspaper like how it was a bad choice on his end. And he was thinking to himself after, I took the shot. I took the shot. I took the risk. I took the shot. It didn't work out, but I took the shot. Maybe next time it'll work out. And that's a lot of thing about like having accountability. Like that's why you kind of need accountability to be successful, because if you don't have accountability, you can't get the praise if you're right. You know what I mean? That's all how it is. You want to take the accountability. When you're wrong, you take that accountability. You mess up. That's how it is. And Tony Robbins, what is it? When you succeed, you party. When you fail, you ponder. When you fail, you ponder, and then you learn from those mistakes, and you move on, and you try something maybe you try something new, or you try again, or you revise that memory. Revision is very powerful. That's a technique from Neville Goddard. Revision, revise those memories, and feel grateful for that different future that you're changing. It's all about what's up here. It's all about how you feel. You want to feel excited, create that future. What do you want? And I mean, what excites you? And it may be, it may be something that sounds pretty ridiculous to think about. You may be thinking, oh man, I don't know. For example, maybe your thought right now is like, I want to be a Hollywood actor or something. That's so ridiculous. Then you're like, no. Like, let's think about something else. Let's just think about making, maybe $100,000 this year, 10K a month, that magic number everybody likes to talk about, 10K a month. But maybe that's not as exciting to you, making 10K a month. Maybe it's more exciting, something bigger. So it would be better to, what would help you feel good, feel excited for a future that you're creating, is becoming that Hollywood actor. I don't know. It's just an example. I think it's, think about the thing that kind of excites you. Think about the thing that excites you. And, anything is possible at the end of the day. Anything is possible. Ultimately, anything is possible. I've been around long enough to know that. You have people who had terminal cancer that somehow miraculously, it went away somehow miraculously. It's rare, but you have so many things like that. And I think that kind of motivates me to try. That motivates me to kind of try at those things, even though you may not always be successful at them. And I think it's important. A lot of people tell you you're the average people. The popular quote: "You're the average people of the 5 people you hang around with the most." And I think that's very true. You want to try to surround yourself with people that you want to be like. Don't hang around with people you don't want to be like. I think that's very important. And sometimes it can be hard to meet people like that. And I think your friends, it's kind of your group. So say you're trying to manifest, something like $1 million, $3 million. Well, I wouldn't even say $1 million, because that's, by today's standards, it's not even that much really to buy a 2-bedroom condo here like that would cost you $1 million. Let's say it's a lot, like $10 million, or real enough where it's like you're in the well into the 1/10 of 1%, I think, like $10 million. Like that's going to change like a lot of probably who you are. That's going to change the people you hang around with. Those things are going to change. Like your day-to-day, your identity, a lot of things are going to change if you're able to do that, pull that off. And that's kind of the ear of caution, some people say, with like law of attraction, make sure it's something you really want. And I think I remember the song "Be Careful What You Wish For" by Eminem. And that's a song that came out probably like 10 years ago or more. And he's like saying, I really wished for all this stuff, but it came back on me tenfold. All the fame, all of that came back on me. It didn't work out. It didn't work out. And that's ultimately, that's what you got to think about. Think of, if you make that $10 million, it may not make you necessarily in your state that you are. It may not make you necessarily happier. I think happiness and those things are, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, it depends who you are. It definitely depends who you are. I mean, if you already, that's the thing too, like if you already have a lot of money, making more money, like if you already have a couple $1 million, probably making more money won't make you much happier, unless there's something that you really could spend that on that will improve your life. But usually at that point, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? But if you don't have much money, if you're struggling, if you're always worrying about money, if things are rough and you make a lot of money, yeah, it'll probably make you happier. Of course, I think it probably would, most likely. So, that's what we're looking at right there. But you got to think about the thing you want, and ultimately think about the negatives, the ramifications for it. People would say, Naval Ravikant said, it's better to be rich and anonymous than poor and famous. And I agree with that. You want to definitely be, rich and anonymous, I think would be the best thing. And I think with your influence, you ultimately, want to motivate people, want to help people. And I think that's ultimately, you see like, success somebody like Tony Robbins had, a lot of, self-help and motivation. Like that's important, because really at the end of the day, look, I mean, everything changes. Everything is constantly changing. It may seem like a lot of people, Elon Musk said people don't really change, they just die. I think he said that on Twitter or somewhere once. And, that's true, but ultimately, everything kind of is changing, even though it seems like, people would say, it doesn't matter the politician, it doesn't matter the president, America is generally just the same. But the way things kind of are, the avenues to kind of make money change. I mean, the internet changed things dramatically And I mean, obviously, a lot of people that didn't use the internet or didn't catch on to it, you know what I mean? They weren't really changed. They kind of just lived the same lives. I mean, one of my friends was telling me how his grandparents, they don't use an iPhone. They use old flip phones or landlines or what, I don't even know. But it didn't really change their life that much. They were already retired. You know what I mean? It depends on your circumstance. But what we're looking with artificial intelligence coming out, a lot of people are talking that talking about that. It's crazy what that can do, and it's a learning curve too. And maybe you're not as interested in it when you're older. When you're young, you're more interested in what's the next new thing. What's cool. You always want to fit in. Maybe when you're younger, a little bit more. What's cool? What's the next thing? So that would make you more inclined to learn about that or whatever. Even crypto. Even I want to learn more about artificial intelligence, what that can do. And so like all this stuff is just coming all at once with Chat GDP, all that type of stuff. So that's what I'm kind of trying to learn a little bit more about there. But I think it's ultimately, if you can learn about these new things, and you talk about college, I think that's very outdated in the ways that because that's outdated in the ways they're teaching you. It's very outdated. To be in the latest things, it's normally stuff that's coming out right now that they haven't had enough time to create a curriculum in college. You want to be kind of on top of exactly what's happening right now, the latest venture capitalist things. So that's ultimately important to think about. Even if you have no skill, no education, all those things, you could learn something that just came out, something that's new, maybe artificial intelligence, maybe something else, and you can apply that and have more of a skill level to potentially make money than somebody who had a skill level that they learned, some skill in college that they learned 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Something that's more outdated. You get what I'm saying? So hope you do. I'm going to leave you off there, guys. Hope you have a great night. Hope you got something out of this video. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. The last thing I want to tell you too is really provide good value. Provide good value, create good content. Those two things are so important because if you looked at the YouTube channel like Hamza, that self-improvement channel that blew up, is another idea I want to talk about. The last thing I want to talk about, the new one that blew up recently. I don't think he ever asked in videos for people to like the video or subscribe. I do it because I know it helps the algorithm, but I just hear so many other people doing it. That's kind of why I do it a lot of the time. But really, it's just creating, that content. And that's kind of how you blow up, creating good content that people want to see. And word of mouth will blow you up. Word of mouth will help you get there. That's what will get there. You know what I mean? That just creating that good content. I mean, the best thing is really, you could be a good salesman and all that, but the best thing is, are you selling a good product? Are you conveying a useful message? That's kind of the most important thing, I would say. That's kind of how you blow up quickly, I think. So anyway, guys, if you got something out of this, goodbye.